we've got the right middle of the table here to bring you this final game. So as we said, these players are all pretty much on the same amount of points, around 22, which puts them dead in the center of the table. You can more or less say that the players who do well here, we shall see again. The players who do poorly, we shall not. And some of the names we got in this lobby are extremely eye-opening.
Yep. Snoody and we just saw him in the last lobby, Dystopia as well, Odessa. But Kane, Weeda, a player that you definitely know very, very well, a legend of the EMEA scene.
I think Legend is putting it a little too hot. I think that's a little bit of a too grandiose title to put on it, but definitely a very well-known. Again, like we are not that. We have 2 years of history, right? Like in the series.
Years of history.
But he is a very good player. He's one of our more renowned players, one of our better performance players overall. I want to talk a little bit about Bibi here actually, because I was scrolling through Twitch as a man does, right? The other day, I was looking through to see like what was going on in the patches here. Set my stream to my language to English. Found this player here, Bibi, who was running EU Nordic and East scrims, where he was actually doing quite well. We'll see what he has for us in store here.
We do have the Mirage variation coming up. The Warlord's Honor is the variation for this game. Not the flashiest, I think, of variations. Do you guys prefer this? Is this something that you guys see in a lobby and say, I'm going to try and go for Mirage? Or is it kind of not as flashy as Spellsword Enchantment, for example, or Electric Overload, especially with Leona as a carry?
Well, one of the things I think that it's going to do in this lobby, which we didn't see in the previous one, is that we're not going to have everybody climbing over themselves to try and grab every Mirage that comes the way. So if it's lower priority, then I think in some ways that can be a little bit better.
I think as well, it's one of those ones where like, okay, I don't hate playing it here. Okay, massive gold opener here as well. We got Titans Resolve on top of that, so that's not even like he has a bad item set here. Can even go for the rich, get rich, and just take the straight up economy acceleration here.
And he goes for it. I think, this is a very important example and maybe a learning experience for many viewers that have to understand when you get a gold opening in TFT, when you don't get 3 items, that immediately puts your board strength lower on average than every other opponent they're going to have in stage 2. So you want to lean into that loose streak. You want to lean into that gold even more. You want to double down on it with something like Rich Get Richer. Go full loose streak, not really care about your board strength for now, and ideally have that extra econ to spike in stage 3, for example, purposely going for a loose streak all throughout stage 2.
One thing I do want to bring up before we get too much further, which is, I was kind of alluding to this, but I guess it's, is that we have gotten here one name we haven't mentioned yet, which is outrageous we haven't mentioned it. It's Salvyyy, our Golden Spatula Cup 1 winner, who somehow has ended up in a position where they might not even make it to day 2 of Golden Spatula Cup 2.
And this happens sometimes. Different patches, different metas, players feel less or more comfortable and have less or more experience, depending on how long they've been laddering and grinding out coming into this tournament. And it's a very tough field of competitors. 128 players all fighting for their chances to be not just in day 2, but maybe even in regional finals by adding up those GSC points. And it's tough out there, even for previous GSC winners like Salvyyy, like Sproyce in the last lobby, for example, also fighting for his life, despite having won a GSC in the past as well.
Yeah, so interesting.
No, please.
I was interesting to note as well. I decided to put the level in just to try and stabilize their HP total instead of just making 30, which I find to be a little bit interesting here. We're moving over to Odessa's board here. Has an early spat from that grab bag. You can see Gadget Expert, Hallucinate, very strong argument. Awkward. I mean, if someone's hallucinating, that also
maybe also an argument.
That's also a pretty good argument, right? But Snoody who's running it back here.
Augments all the time. One of the things we are seeing here from Kane, though, in terms of their arguments, is that they've got themselves the Gadget Expert. We've been seeing tons of this. It's something we've seen in multiple different tournaments, and even post-nerf, people are still prioritizing extremely highly.
We saw in game 1, Gluteus able to really maximize the value from that Shiv with a great attack speed carry like Varus. In this case, Senna is the carrier instead, and also a great one, especially when she is 2-star in stage 2. So I definitely expect a good start for the Gadget Expert player.
Yeah, and it's just you get a free static Shiv. You get a free static Shiv.
Static Shiv
Static Shiv is very, very, very good.
Do you think we'll ever see a return, Eve post-nerf, to people stacking static Shivs when they've got the Gadget Expert?
Totally. There's a great way to kill a tier. Like, it's a fantastic way to kill a tier.
We're going to see Snoody with Hallucinate means he is going to go into Mirage again. Played it last game, going to do it again in the final game, the game that could decide his fate going into day 2. As we talked about, he is near that threshold to do well. Got a 5th last game with a game that seemed to be going so well, but maybe a little bit too greedy in the end, not expecting that much damage, ends up getting a 5th. Hopefully in this game you can find maybe a better, more stable start and maybe just play for that guaranteed top 4, top 3, whatever he does need to make it into day 2.
Did you see a little bit of what Hinca is up to here? They're currently on the win streak, up against Snoody, who's on another one of those win streaks. So with Snoody taking the L there, we're down to Chicane and Hinca. Both of them hoping to be able to extend that all the way through to the end as, uh-oh, it's the analyst desk favorite, even more spatulas.
We're going to see who ends up picking it up. No open spats, no I guess there was actually an grab bag, but Odessa already slammed it, it looks like, with only the rod available there on his components. So ideally, when you have some players do just try and lose streak and play for that out of just finding another spat and getting a free fawn. Not the case for Odessa.
Not the case here, and I think that's fine. There are a few transformative spats here. As we are going to be going over back to Odessa's board here, that goes for the Mirage spat. So a very clear letter of intent here for the Mirage thing. I want to talk about Skyfroz for a second here as well. Like, normally they play, like he plays on mobile. He's a mobile gamer.
Brave man.
That is how he plays the game normally, and that is how he normally hovers around GM and thereabouts, high GM. That is pretty impressive when you play on mobile, I'd say.
So what are you missing out on if you're playing on mobile compared to playing on PC?
To see things. For those of us that maybe don't have the best eyesight, I would not play on mobile. I think there's a bit too much going on for me to play on mobile, to be honest. But especially just the speed. We saw Snoody's roll down last game on mobile. I think that's not a possibility. And I doubt he's playing on mobile for the tournament, right, Wida? I mean,
he's not. There's no tournament. We're playing on a tournament client. There's no mobile tournament
Thank
client.
you. Okay, yes. That's true as well.
You can go over to Wild Rift for that, which is also a fantastic mobile game if you feel like that. It's actually pretty fun to watch some Wild Rift compared to regular League of Legends time. It's actually a pretty enjoyable experience, I'd say. But a player we also haven't talked too much about here is Hinca at the top of the lobby, currently 100 streaking together with Chicane. Chicane obviously very, very expected due to the nature of that Gadget Expert opener. There'll be a 30 gold streaking still level 4. That is interesting.
Yeah, Chicane is doing the same thing. So yeah, the Gadget Expert working extremely well here. And also the Runaan's Hurricane, another item that does work with the extension of there, as we get to see what Hinca is doing specifically. Of course, everyone's favorite item are Archangels coming in, but this board doesn't look amazing by itself.
Just the Ezreal 2-star with Archangel seems to be doing enough with just a solid frontline, a Tomkins too. But yeah, I think it's just a lot of perfect throw procs, I'm going to imagine, in most of these fights where you're able to kind of get the resets with Ezreal, or especially the frontline, and still stay alive. So it's one of those boards where you really think it's kind of a fake win streak because it's not really strong enough to, I think, sustain a longer win streak going to stage 3. But as we're seeing here, it could just be these resets that are doing it for the Ezreal. Looks like it's going to be the case. We have our answer. This is how he's been win streaking, just getting perfect resets with Archangels, making it so that the Ezreal's ability is a one-shot at this stage of the fight.
That's going to be the win streak broken for Chicane coming into Krugs.
That is very big here, right? He's able to keep on the streak here. He's full on streaking 30 gold, 5 streak this week. And also worth noting here, I've talked about this at the top of the show. Ezreal did get buffed, as he is a much better AP item holder now. So again, at Zeus, I guess a 25 base damage increase at 2-star, I do believe, which is pretty big when you have the percentage scaling that is AP in the game. So, and it's a position he can play from here. He can play for Dacia, right? I mean, everyone seems to be playing for Dacia, but Phil the Hunt is one of the best augments to play Dacia with. So, possibilities are endless right now.
Leona's as well, so a pair that can end up getting slotted in once he goes to the next level. Oh, looks like the game is telling him, listen, sir, you're going to play Mirage and you don't have any other choice.
He's 4 components, though. There are 4 very good components, but he's 4 components. Okay, no, he's 5 components. Okay, that's a national bench. I was about to say for a second that would be pretty grim, but he has a Sunfire, he has an Archangels. Not a bad position to be in overall. Cap spat here for Odessa. This is a strong setup.
Just a quick note before we get back into this. We have had confirmation from our admins that if you get 5 points in this game, which is top 4, that will put you into a tiebreaker situation most likely, but 6 points should put you through. So hitting top 3 means that you are safe for day 2. Anything less than that, It's a question, and in the bottom 4, you're pretty much out of luck.
A repeat of last game. So many players with a direction for that Yasuo. We see 2 Caspats facing off in this fight. We saw Snoody was on Mirage as well. Odessa was on Mirage, we're seeing here. So it's the same story again. It's going to be 3 or 4 players trying to go for the Mirage, despite Peter, as you mentioned, it being maybe a less exciting option with Warlord's Honor. It seems like it's exciting enough because all these players are trying to go for the same comp again.
Well, I want to put it to you guys. Why are we seeing this? Why are we seeing the players, just, really, in a lobby where we've got a very good Mirage, sure, but is there something about the way the Mirage works? As we see more Mirage crests coming in. Why is Mirage everywhere?
I think just the game. The game is giving all these players the clear direction. It's not their fault. They're just getting Mirage crests and Cav spats and early stage 2 Dejas. What are they supposed to do? They just go what the game is telling them to go for. But it's going to be difficult for them to all hit at stage 4 and stage 5.
All right, so
this 4-1 is going to be such a fiesta, man. I can already feel it.
Tell me about 4-1. What's going to go down there?
Well,
roll down.
People go to level 7. They're going to press D until they find Deja, and if they don't find Deja, well, their game is going to be in a very weird spot.
Is it as stark as saying if you don't hit Deja on the roll down, you're pretty much just done?
Yeah, I mean, that's sometimes how Dragon lotteries work. 1-4-1 in some of the patches we've seen in this set, and especially in some lobbies where it's kind of that do or die moment, because if you don't hit Deja, that probably means everyone else that is trying to go Mirage did hit Deja, and there are no more Dejas in the pool, or there are just very little Dejas left for you to actually get down. Let's see if this Ezreal can still do it. He's going to have to get some perfect resets here. It looks like it might be the case, though. Nunu has to kill this Ezreal, but it's not going to be enough. Someone stop this man.
It was obnoxious before. It's doubly obnoxious when you've got a Zhonya's on there, which I don't even think procced in that round.
It's just a menace, man. This Ezreal.
Realistically, by stage 4, you can't keep getting away with it. No, it's only going to be maybe stage 3. This will be the end of the journey for that Ezreal, I think.
I mean, he's built your own Rengar, no? So if we say it's Thrill of the Hunt, then the Sonus is basically the Rengar ult proc that goes, invisible. Kind of the same concept, can't take damage, can't be targeted for a brief moment of time. No?
Yeah, I think I get where you're going here. But let's check in with Salvyyy, our Golden Spatula Cup #1 champion. So you said, maybe this hasn't been their tournament as much, but they are going for something a little bit different here. They've got Determined Investor, they've got early Shimmer Scale and Cannoneer. What do you think of their comp? What do you think of Salvyy's chances, rather, of making it through to day 2 based on what we've got right here?
He has a Volibear. He's a throwback to GSC1. He did well with Volibear in the past. He's trying to do it again. I think just for the style points here, but going to end up losing this fight. It looks like the Tristana with double Zeeks might be enough, actually, as he gets the right kills here.
Ooh.
It's a close one, but Jinx and Lulu not quite able to do it. Salvyyy gets taken down a little bit, but still very healthy, or fairly healthy at 7-4 HP. Overall, pretty even lobby outside of maybe Shurikane and Hinka.
It has battle together with double Zeeks and a Locket, so can pretty much flex into anything from there because attack speed is just a very good overall stat. I don't want to say the magic words. I don't want to say Deja. I don't think this is going to be a Deja situation, hopefully for him, so he doesn't have to go in and take part in that, hilarious situation that is going to be that everyone rolling for Deja on 4-1. But even Corki here is fine. Saya would have been fine. I think it might be okay. Even like an AO Shin, for example, could be interesting, right? Because of the amount of attack speed, which means that the AO Shin will get to cast sooner. There's still plenty of options right now. He does have a little bit of life to work with as well.
Snoody has learned...
No,
Go ahead, Peter.
I was just going to say, just a quick note about where we are kind of in the lobby coming out of Carousel. Shurikane, despite being the one who didn't manage to hold on to their win streak coming out of Stage 2, they haven't lost since then, and Hinka has dropped down. If you look further down the table, our bottom 3, Skyfroz, Ersinnx, and Dystopia, all in the 50s already.
Snoody did pick up the Dragon Horde that I wanted to mention, so not going into Mirage. Well, maybe still going into Mirage, but not just Mirage with Deja. Instead, trying to opt into more Dragons as well. Maybe the player that we saw, lose streaking with that early gold start, has now stabilized, is now win streaking. So a bit of a foreshadowing on what I mentioned. Lose streaking stage 2, and then using that gold to try and stabilize and get quite strong by the end of stage 3, which seems to be the case here. Right now, middle of the pack, hoping to maybe hit that Siphon 2 in stage 4.
It just keeps doing it, man. There's Ezreal. Well, that's Shyvana.
Oh boy.
The dragon stuff, so they can just slap the Shyvana and a Dacia. Okay.
What? I can't remember if it was people were saying before that you just blink and you miss it. Suddenly you go from having like a very mediocre board to having a board full of dragons.
Is this the case now to try and go 8 and fit in the Shiou as well? I think it might be.
I like this triangle, actually. Could we wait to go level 8? I like to look at this triangle a little bit more. Like, look at this positioning.
Pyramid formation.
Is this a specific formation to do something, or is it just because it looks nice?
A little bit of both, I think. Satisfying to watch, but also, well, that's a Yasuo with Capspat and Assassin
Yasuo.
That's maybe a bit more satisfying, actually.
Wait, and that's Sasuo. Yeah, that works.
Will it be enough, though?
He's getting his goose cooked.
No, not
it's
quite.
Not enough.
Shyvana on stage 3, a little bit too strong here. Snoody gets the 30 gold econ breakpoint here, and once he hits that level 8, able to slot in Shiou, especially if he finds a Shiou 2-star, going to be very, very stable going into stage 4.
Yeah, I think a player we haven't even mentioned his name today. Ersinnx, a player that we saw a lot of in the first Golden Spatula Cup of the season. Well, he's got it all to do right now. He is a level 7, 30 HP, 28 goals, full lose streaking. Like, this spot is very rough for Ersinnx right now to even try to come back from.
So let's see what they're up to. Oh, that's right, yes. So we've got the Shimmer Scale set up from before. We have got the Eternal Winter in there, newly nerfed as of this patch. So, we've got a massive loss streak here. But Ersinnx, do you think they've got the capacity to come back?
He's clear mining right now.
Gonna have to find the right upgrades. Gonna have to find the Sona 2, the Corki 2, or the Idis 2. I think Idis 2 especially. But this is the case that we've seen so many times before, I think. Usually when a player has very little HP and is in a dire situation going into stage 4, they're usually playing kind of a loose streak Cannoneer start. It's a comp that if you don't find the right units, you don't have the right upgrades, just because of how Nomsy stacks when you have 2 stars, for example, it can be quite dicey, and that's gonna be the case here, I think. If he doesn't find these upgrades, I think he might just die out in the next few fights.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on just going for the Gunblade instead here for the...
Diamond Hands is massive.
Well, I mean, we see certainly in this fight that it is proccing through. But yeah, I suppose that's a question, that's sort of a general question. Are you guys more on the end of, and I suspect this is going to be it depends answer, but are you generally more in the sense of it's better to keep Corki alive for longer, or actually, hold that thought, because we've got some moments to consider.
There's always second wind here, but I feel like just going Gunblade on Corki into, having the Diamond Hands on the item is going to go along for so... You say it's big, it's huge, it's massive. Like, this is the game-defining moment here. Can he even go for that Champion Duplicator that he got from the upgrade of this?
And now that you find the Idis 2-star, I think now is when you put Diamond Hands on the Idis instead. You have also more, I think, components for the Corki than for the Idis with these last few components on the bench as well. But we'll see. I guess it'll depend on the fight maybe as well. Ersinnx can decide once the fight starts what to put this unit on.
Yes, it's a very strange thing that came in partway through the set, the ability to move your Shimmer Scale items around, remove them constantly and put them back in. So we can see, at least in this case, we've only got a relatively minimal amount of threat towards the backline because, of course, that bleeding Ezreal's back again.
Surely he can't get away with this. Diamond Hands, Idis 2. No, Ezreal surely can't get a reset in this case. I hope not, at least. We are now in stage 4. Ezreal should be falling off at this point in the game. Idis still alive here. Thresh hooking the wrong units, and Corki able to dish out enough damage to finally let this Ezreal get put to bed, and maybe Inca will have to decide if it's going to be strong enough to really go into stage 5 with an Ezreal carry still.
A small point on Ersinnx here is that they've got, while they have managed to hit the units they're looking for, they do not have much money at all. So we take a look across the whole field. So noticeable for Chicane as well is we have got two dragon hordes in the lobby. We saw that last time that happened, both of the dragon players came out the worse.
it's a rough spot to be in for sure, right? Like it's one of those things where if it works, it works. We had that whole shebang last time around where like we were just waiting for someone with even harder alliance to do well here. Something that's worth noting here about Ersinnx's position that I wanted to touch on quickly is that you say he has no gold, but he gets an additional free gold each round by having the clear mind, so he's going to be able to push level 8 relatively untroubled from this position on.
Well, that's fair. We get to see what Chicane is up to directly. So right now, it doesn't look like they've actually gone too deep into the Dragon side of things. It's just a fairly standard-looking comp otherwise, and Chicane will take the L. They're still up at the top of the table by a decent margin, whereas Ersinnx is really 1 or 2 bad rounds away from disaster.
Surprising win there, actually, for Ersinnx, considering that usually the Siphon variation of Corki is going to be better than the Idis one because Siphon just bypasses Idis entirely and kills for Corki before he can actually deal damage. But in the end there, I think some fortunate positioning in the case of Corki surviving, Siphon being taken down, and the fight going in Ersinnx's favor.
So guys, talk to me about what Ersinnx's going to be doing at this point, because we know, they've got so little room to work with. What are the kind of optimizations, the kind of positionings they're going to be trying to do to give themselves the best chance of trying to make that top 4 that they absolutely have to make in this game?
Corki will probably have to be quite central in positioning. There are going to be many Deja players, for example. I'm going to have to be careful with Siphon especially, because that can just, despite being extremely strong, if a Siphon gets onto your Corki right away, that might just be a lost fight. And at this point, at stage 5, or almost stage 5, 1 loss at 16 HP, a big loss especially, could be game losing and possibly tournament losing. This is, of course, game 6, and these players are all hoping for a top 3 to make it into day 2.
Yeah, and he has to go all the way right because he needs that top 3 to even have a chance of making it to day 2 without having to deal with any tiebreaker situations going on here. He can't even hold a Soraka, for example, which would help him get back into that HP situation here. But he's just in a very, very strong spot overall, one would say.
This Asuo goes right into the back line. Sona will get taken down without doing too much apart from stopping. Though, actually, does stay alive for a little bit longer. Corki is staying up. The front line is holding for Ersinnx right now, and I'm thinking the people in the lobby are going to maybe start paying a little bit more attention to Ersinnx, who I think we'd assumed was destined for a quick 8th.
Yasuo goes for the Idis. I think that will be enough for Corki to be able to win this fight here for Ersinnx, and that's going to be the case. Very fortunate. Had the decision there between the Idis and the Corki was in between both. Ends up favoring Ersinnx here, and Ersinnx stays alive for 1 fight longer. But the HP difference was so big between himself and the rest of the players that even if he's winning 1 or 2 or 3 fights, he still has, very little HP compared to the rest of the lobby.
Yeah, that's why I really like this pickup here. He locked the shot for the Soraka, said, you know what, I'm just going to level to 8 here. I don't really need the gold. I'm just going to take whatever I'm offered on the Treasure Dragon itself. Says that the HP right now, he needs to start working that HP back towards his own favor right now here. Skyfroz hit a Soraka too as well, by the way, so that life total will also start moving up here. This is going to be one of the bigger tests for Ersinnx's board.
All right, those Mirages are going to hit like an absolute truck. Idis is holding on the front line pretty darn well. I think with the Soraka heal, there's not too much worry about Ersinnx taking a loss bad enough to go out in this round. Of course, Soraka does get blown up. The backline access is good. I think Ersinnx's still got this one.
Just about.
Ooh, that was so close, and that all came down to that Thresh hook stalling out the Deja's last ult by a tiny bit, because that ult would have maybe killed off the entirety of that board in the way it was lined up. So very fortunate last few fights for Ersinnx. Everything going in his favor, the fight RNG. Also the positioning on his side I think has been very good to try and kind of lean into these possibilities when it comes to fight RNG. But we'll see how long this can last for and if he can actually make it into the top 4.
Skips the Sunfire QSS BT one. That was an interesting one to look at actually.
Yeah, that has to be it. Warmogs onto the Idis. You find another Archangels for the Sona.
This Archangels, but it's also Shojin, right? So the Sona is going to be permacasting from this point onwards now. This is a very, very good selection. The one I was doing that for was be more of the ones where it's like if you find a casual Yasuo, for example, that would be magnificent because again, if you start building like BT Yasuo with the Diamond Hands, even after the Diamond Hands nerf, it's still going to be a very strong combination to look at.
All right, so at the beginning of stage 5, we can look across our economy totals and we can see that Snoody and Ersinnx, the only players with any amount of gold really in the bank. Chicane at least has got a losing streak to build up some of their economy, but our players look pretty all in right now. Wait, what are we seeing?
Well, I mean, what did you expect? Ezreal to still be on this board going to stage 5? Finally, the
No, I'm
leap
looking at
has
the
been
Tempest
made.
6.
Not quite Tempest 8. Makes crying herself to sleep as well, I think, tonight, if she doesn't see that calm. But
It's one
great
step closer
transition.
than we've got before.
Look at Salvyyy's
close, that is
items,
true.
by the way. That's triple Steaks with a Tactician's Crown as well. Holy.
Oh boy. Well, Aoshin will do a good job. He did clear a fair amount of the field, but as we sneak around and check in on our friend Ersinnx again, it looks like perhaps their luck is running out. That the Soraka healing keeps them from getting knocked down that time, but that's a big L. The only thing that time has really bought them is that Bibi has gone down to 11 HP, and Ersinnx still has a chance of getting one space higher, but it doesn't matter. You need to get in the top 4, ideally top 3.
And Bibi not having hit that Chiou 2, maybe a byproduct of 2 players having that Dragon's Horde, is going to be so detrimental for his chances of winning this next fight, of being strong enough to actually stay alive in this lobby.
Up against Salvyyy. As you mentioned, the ridiculous level of buffs going on to Corki there with a double Giant Slayer should be able to deal with any target of any size. If Bibi goes down here and Ersinnx stays alive, that's one step closer for Ersinnx to hold on to try for that top 4. And yep, Bibi goes out, takes a big L. Ersinnx is still fighting.
And that Yasuo just stealing all of Chiou's attention throughout that entire fight with his ability proccing and stalling out again and again and again was the Aoshin coming in clutch, and Ersinnx is out as well. Oh no! A gruesome 5-2 here with 2 players being taken out. Both players now maybe saying bye-bye to their chances of making it into day 2, unfortunately for them.
And this is
Look at what's in the shop though for Hinka.
Aoshin 2 here is going to be cutting the 2-star Nico. I'm honestly not sure whether or not that's the correct way of going about it.
Did you go down to Tempest 4 instead? Oh,
No, I mean,
well,
I'm just trying
never
to
mind.
do this. I guess they want to move the items over to the Yasuo to get the more efficient spread, I suppose. That could work, but... Okay, so do this instead. Lee Sin did get buffed, to be fair, so doing a little bit more damage here. But the big one, obviously, is the Aoshin 2. That was a big one, and we needed to figure out how to get onto the board here. I would like to look at that spot with more time, trying to really digest that, because I think that might even be a world where I just wait a turn, to be honest. But
Yeah. Is this front line stable enough? It looks like it is. Aoshin able to cast, but isn't able to kill out Siphon. Still able to do it in the end there. And Aoshin gets the win. Tricane taken down to 25 HP. The back end of this lobby, so close. 24 HP from both Dystopia, Odessa, and Hinka. And Tricane at 25, Salvyyy at 27, Skyfroz at 28. I mean, all 6 of these players only 10 HP apart from each
it's a
other.
Dragon Carousel.
Oh boy, they know it's the final game of day number 1, and we deserve something nice.
I mean, if you are Hinka here, right? Like, you just sold off your entire board. You could have just grabbed a dragon from the carousel instead, right? They're going to be looking a little bit awkward to a certain extent, but at the end of the day, I think that is how this game's played. But when you have these multiple players that are playing on the Dragon Horde here, that's a massive boon for them to get.
Snoody, same position as last game. So much gold to work with, trying to go 9. The HPs are so close. Last game, I think he was at 20-something. He still lost in one fight with how much damage he took. Hopefully the same thing doesn't happen here.
He's very
Guys, talk to me about these kind of dragon comps we're seeing here. You know, what do they do well? What do they do poorly to have all of these? You know, we've got all of these small versions of the traits activated, but we've got very few units on the board.
Both are very strong units, and they're very well itemized in this case. You have the Morello as well, and the Shyvana here. You have Deja doing a lot of damage from the backline. Overall, this is a dangerous augment to pick if you're not sure how to get to this point, but if you have the experience and you are able to stabilize with a strong board, it's one of the higher capped augments and just possibilities in the game right now. Not quite enough, it looks like, to win this fight, though.
No, Dystopia's board, the Hallucinate, again with the full front line, is just so... That's not Hallucinate, sorry, he only has the Mirage Cross, he's all the way around. But again, when you don't really have a lot of front line to go with the Hallucinate, you're technically speaking almost down an augment, right? Because you don't have the Nunos of the world, stuff like that, to really put them in the way between you and the Dacia. But Dystopia, Hitting a Deja 2 here as well. Like, just 2-star dragons all over right now, right? You're looking at this. Hinka is just trying to roll for some upgrades. Even Kiana 2 could be pretty big here. This Dragonmancer crest is actually really interesting because it allows him to move some stuff around and be more flexible here, keep the 6 Tempest, kick the Ash away that he had before. This is a very, very strong board, very interesting board to work with as well.
See if they're up against anyone who's up for elimination. No, Dystopia with a very heavily AP-focused Shyvana. Sorry, not Shyvana, Deja right at the back there. When they do eventually cast, the entire world will end, but you could say the same thing for Ao Shin. Maybe I oversold it.
It just triggers the Sonias in one hit, though.
Alright, well, there you go. Hinka holds on.
The most dangerous thing about this stage of the game is that there's so many dragons in play that these losses can end up being, 20 HP hits for anyone that ends up losing here. And everyone is so close as well that it's so dangerous. These players have to be very careful. If they have gold, they have to roll it down. Snoody is in a position, like last game, where he can potentially lose in maybe not one fight, but 2 for sure. And if he loses too much HP because he's greedy about going 9 and trying to win out the lobby instead of just top 4ing, he could get into big, big trouble.
Salvyy's streak is broken here as well. That's big. Like, he was just full streaking, having, like, just living his best life, but streak is broken now.
So we got Chicane and Dystopia down on a single-digit HP. Hinka barely above them, and Salvyyy as well. Skyfroz and Snoody, the only players who are remotely feeling any level of comfort. And when the placement in this particular game is so important, you couldn't ask for more than to have it come down to such close tables here. Where 1 or 2 rounds could swing the whole thing.
I have to imagine this will be a level 9 now for Snoody in the final roll down. The APM coming in clutch. We'll see what he ends up stabilizing with. Ryze, I think, is not going to be the final unit to be put in here. Soraka, a better one, in my opinion. And Bard, maybe as well. But no upgrades. Able to transfer the Shroud, though, could be very important in just winning this last fight and knocking out a player and guaranteeing top 4 at the very least.
So Snoody, feeling comfortable. Dystopia and Chicane again in the biggest peril. Salvyyy hits level 9. Our players are putting every piece of gold into this. As Salvyyy and Snoody, I think they are safe from elimination in this round.
Salvyyy is not safe at all. Like, he is not safe if he takes a huge loss here. This Shyvana can do a ton of work here, especially paired up with that Deja hit.
It looks like that's going to be the case. So much damage in the backline there. The Shroud coming in the early moments of the fight as well, but it looks like it's not quite enough to get the win here. And Snoody now down to 13 HP. Chicane eliminated. Salvyyy still staying alive. Skyfroz the HP leader, but with how many dragons are in play and with 1 dragons per player now at this point, any loss here can be it for most of these players.
No more good losses. They don't exist.
Especially on stage 6.
No. Maybe we'll get to stage 7 again. Maybe we've been good enough this year. But I guess, yes, we're not seeing the players with enough HP in the bag. It does feel like we're on the precipice here again. Hitting top 4 is a necessity, but top 3 is really what you want from this lobby to make sure you are safe. But no one's safe right now. Snoody versus Dystopia. Snoody has got the level 9, has got, again, an omega strong Deja hit waiting to come in.
Spanish Civil War, one of these players maybe not making into day 2, unfortunate to face off against each other. It looks like the Shyvana is able to do enough here with a Mirage, but is it really enough? Deja versus Deja, the new news onto this last Deja here from Snoody. It's going to be a close one. I think Snoody's going to be taken down here. That might just be enough to be taken out.
No!
1 HP! Top 4 guaranteed for Snoody. Odessa as well. Both Spanish players still alive. Hinka, the Ezreal Thrill of the Hunt carry player, finally taken down in 5th.
The Ersinnx too was just not the surrounding supporting cast was just not good enough to really help propel that into a into a top 4 into day 2 berth here. So this is like these players right now are fighting for getting themselves into that day 2 right now. Top 3 is what you really want to be at. Top 4 now you're looking at tiebreakers.
Yeah, and the tiebreakers are notoriously treacherous. Skyfroz is the person on 24 HP, so they've been able to heal up with the help of the Soraka. But it's a dragon party all over again. The Yasuo in the backline is going straight onto the Deja. Does take him down pretty low already before getting a little toasted. But with the Deja gone, I think this is the end of the line.
I don't think Shyvana can do enough. I think that's going to be too much to handle. Diana and Yasuo, the assassin spirit you don't always see, but just so strong here. Snoody gets taken out. Odessa gets taken out. Third and fourth for the Spanish players. And now France versus Germany. The classic matchup of countries in so many different European competitions, TFT included, going to be the final fight for this Game 6.
What do you even want here? Like, the blue buff cannot fit onto the Yasuo. I think Salvyyy is a little bit... Because when you look at the board from Skyfroz, it's not like it's easy to itemize against, right? It's the Yasuo IE Cavalier Sin that does most of the damage, and then it's the bat. Like, this is not a traditional board, by the way. This is like a very...
So guys, talk to me. What are the key points going to be from each of these players? What do they, I know we've got the main carries on each team, but how are each of them going to be trying to get at those carries?
Snoody tried to position his Deja on the front line. In this case, the clumping instead is going to be the answer here. It looks like from Salvyyy. We'll see if it'll be enough against the Assassin Yasuo and Diana with Ionic Spark, with Sunfire, making it so much more difficult. Kind of punishing either way that you position, you're going to be punished here. Corki targeting the Yasuo will be enough to kill it though before it can do more damage.
Salvyyy must be smiling right now. This is a pretty damn good round for them, as you say. Switching up the positioning, Skyfroz takes the L, and now Salvyyy on a win streak. Skyfroz is now forced to try and make some major changes. That was not a good round for them at all.
There's no Pyke, so clumping is not going to get punished here. Pyke would help you in that regard. That is the big thing to note here. The Yasuo also should not be the first one to dive into the backline here. I feel like the Yasuo needs to not take aggro. I think that's the big thing here. Yasuo needs to be able to do his own thing. Speaking of Pyke, so just that's a Pyke.
Oh.
This is the hard thing with the kind of unusual comp from Skyfroz. He doesn't really know how to cap this out further. I don't know if you can cap it out further. You don't have enough gold to do so as well. This is going to be the final fight at this point, and it looks like it's going to be a repeat. Diana and Yasuo have been swapped. We'll see if that'll be enough to change the outcome of the fight. If Yasuo gets targeted once again and is able to get killed off by the Corki AoE damage here, that might be it. Corki untouched, double Giant Slayer, Hodge as well. The AoE damage is too much for this Yasuo and this comp to deal with, and it will be a win for Salvyyy here unless this Hecarim can somehow pull off a miracle. I don't think it'll be the case.
No, it doesn't seem to be happening at all. The Corki stands triumphant amid a field of bodies. The heal is something, but the front line is just about holding. Skyfroz gave it a hell of a go, but it's not going to happen. No, that's still alive on 3 HP?
Still alive. Yeah, there's the rocket healing coming through here. That means he has time now. He gets a Zephyr and has time to find the Diana free. He's angling for very heavily here.
The Zephyr on the Corki, that could be so massive. So the positioning game is going to be very difficult as well because of how locked into this position we see that Salvyyy is, because he has the triple Zeeks, he has the Locket, he has a Shroud as well. It's not easy to chain around units and still find maximum value from these item combinations.
So where is where are you looking to try and land that Zephyr if you're Skyfroz?
I mean, it has to be the Corki, right?
Has to be. Could be frontline as well. That is also something that you could be looking out for if you don't want to split it too much. I don't know if that's going to be impactful enough, to be honest, but I feel like getting that Corki away from the fight for just a second here could be the deciding factor here. But again, Salvyyy is just upgrading this board left, right, and center, and his upgrades are 2-star 5 costs, while the only one that Skyfroz can do right now is to find a Diana free, and it's just not happening.
I think even if you're able to Zephyr the front line, I think it just won't be enough because your carries are bypassing the front line anyway, with both assassins jumping right into that back of the comp.
We shall see what that final decision is going to be. This should be the end of it. One away or the other. Skyfroz, they go for the knockup. It is onto the Corki, just as you said. They've got the moments they need to try and establish themselves onto the board, but Corki has landed again. The front line is intact. All those upgraded 5-cost units are just too much for Skyfroz to be able to handle. A level 8, you look enviously on those who've hit the penthouse heights of level 9, laughing down at Skyfroz with a pile of legendary units. I love the Yasuo attempt, but ultimately cut down by the Field of Fire, and Skyfroz settles for second, but they'll also settle for day 2.
And Salvyyy ends this day 1 as he did in the last GSC, winner of the lobby, guarantees qualification into day 2, and tries to continue